y'all. My name is Jasmine Jones, and I am a licensed clinical social worker. You're now watching Black Girl, a therapist in the wild. And this is a little show I like to call Therapist Sips and Reviews. And today, we are reviewing Sinners, or what I like to call the movie where magical, dark-skinned black women get slaughtered and martyred, while the white woman gets to walk off into the moonlight with her dark vampire prince. And we are sipping on absinthe and lemonade. How y'all doing? So, I won't say I disliked the movie, because there were so many good parts and pieces of the plot and things like that. But once again, I'm just not. I think there could have been more done for the black woman in this movie, but we'll get to that. So this is going to be Creed 3 rules. First, we're going to talk about the good stuff, the things we like, talk about the story, the plot, mental health of the characters, and things like that. Then we'll get into the things that I didn't like, because you will not say that I disparaged and was mean or cruel or whatever. It's all going to make sense. It's all going to come together, and it's all going to make sense. At least to me anyways. If it doesn't make sense to you, oh well, at least I got to get it off my chest. I don't give a fuck. So, Sinners is about these two brothers and their little cousin named Sammy. It starts off with the end of the movie first. So we cut into Sammy covered in blood, running into his father's church, and then we cut to him in the fields. So Sammy is the son of a preacher, and he's also, a sharecropper as well. So I'm guessing he's around, he's giving me 15, 16-year-old teas, and this is important because of when we get to what I didn't like about the movie. He's giving me 15, 16-year-old teas, the innocence, the curiosity, the looking up to his older cousins, the asking questions, and all, and not knowing much about the world, things like that. So it's giving 15, 16-year-old kid, right? And sharecropping, I went to Louisiana, I went to New Orleans a couple years ago. And this is something I'm never going to do again, because I feel like I feel energy, and, I'm not going to be around evil energy. I went on a plantation tour, never doing that again. It felt like the hounds of hell were nipping at my feet. I hated it in there so much. It was just, I was scared. I had an obsidian stone that I was clutching for dear life. I just wanted to leave. As soon as I pulled into that motherfucker, I was scared. Anyways, but they were saying on the tour how there are families in the South that to this day still are in debt to the owners of the land that their family sharecropped on. It's some bullshit. It's, white supremacy, racism, some bullshit. So he's a sharecropper. His dad's a farmer. It's him and his mom, I guess, are sharecroppers, or maybe he's one. He lives in this shanty house with a bunch of siblings and stuff, and they showed his mom and stuff. And so I'm assuming that he's the sharecropper. I don't know, but he's a sharecropper, and he also plays music and stuff like that. And so he's planning on playing music for his cousin's, juke joint. They invited him to play. And so his dad is high and mighty, super Christian, judgmental, all this other stuff. He thinks that the music and the juke joint is the devil and it's evil and all this other stuff. We forget that part of the Bible where Jesus went to a whole wedding and turned water into wine, and they was turning up in that bitch. And they probably weren't playing Christian music or, holy music while they was turning up drinking wine. But, whatever. Those super duper Christians just believe that God don't want us to have fun, and I don't understand. He gave us the ability to have orgasms. So, we need to read the Song of Solomon. That in the Bible gives us a right to have kinks. Let's read that whole chapter, that whole book. Anyway, so Sammy's yeah, whatever, man. He recites the little scripture that his dad wants him to recite, and then he runs off with, thing one and thing two. So we got Stack. He's the ne'er-do-well brother that makes poor decisions and, is impulsive and just does stuff. And then we got Smoke. He is the more stoic brother, follows the rule brother, the watching over his, I think he's the younger, how twins be. They want the one that come out like a second after the other one is the younger brother. So that's how he's treating him, right? And so they pick him up and then they go, I looked it up. This was like a year before Prohibition ended. So they had been in Chicago working for Capone. And so apparently they robbed the Irish and they robbed the Italians of a whole bunch of liquor and I'm assuming money. And they made it seem like they had did it to each other. The Italians and the Irish had stole from each other. But, like Annie said, like, niggas, they ain't stupid. They ain't gonna stay stupid for long. But anyways, cocky, arrogant. They have this truck full of alcohol hidden in the bushes somewhere. And, well, first of all, before that, they, like, buy the sawmill from the white man that's selling it to them. And I guess they're aware this white man is a part of the Ku Klux Klan or is in cahoots with the Ku Klux Klan, because they basically say, okay, well, once we buy this is the end of it, right? But it's something weird about it. The floor's been recently cleaned, and they was like, why has the floor been recently cleaned? He's like, so basically, Sammy and Stack go to pick up some employees for the juke joint, and Smoke goes to get the sign for the juke joint and to go and meet with Annie. So Smoke goes and gets the sign for the juke joint from this Asian market. And I've been seeing this meme go around for like a few years. So I kind of already knew this because it was just going around. Like, but apparently Asian folks, I think it was mainly Chinese, but I'm not 100%, and it probably wasn't mainly Chinese, so I'm just going to say Asian folks. Back in Jim Crow era, they had the Chinese building the railroads and all this other random shit. So basically, like, they set up shop in the Mississippi Delta and stuff, right? And they had these stores, and they would have stores for the white folks, stores for the black folks. They were like the middleman, pretty much. Whites weren't like on their heads like they was on black people's heads, so they would go to their stores and shop and buy shit, right? So that's what they illustrated here. Like, this family, this husband and wife and this child own these two marketplaces. And so Smoke goes first, he commandeers this young girl to watch his car and honk the horn if somebody comes along to steal his shit. And then he goes in there and asks him for a sign and stuff. Somebody comes along and tries to steal his shit. He shoots them in the ass and one in the knee. And then he goes back into the store and he's like, I want this sign. And so the little girl goes to get her mom in the white people store. She comes over and they haggle back and forth about the price of the sign, and he picks up some flowers and shit like that. While he's doing that, Stack is first he picks up Delroy Lindo. He is doing the harmonica in front of the store, and he knows that he plays the piano good, so he needs some musicians, some singers, something. And so he picks up Delroy Lindo. Delroy Lindo at first doesn't want to do it because he has this, he has an alcoholism problem, and he is at this one juke joint club situation that he's at every Saturday, and this is consistent, and these niggas just showed up today, want to pay him $20 when he can get $20 at the other club, and know that he's going to consistently get money. He should have stuck with that plan. I'm sorry that you didn't, love. It's niggas. But so Stack's like, okay, I'm going to give you $40 and some other stuff and whatever fuck and Irish beer and shit like that. And so this nigga being the alcoholic and traumatized and shit like that, he takes it. He's like, okay. While Stack is there, like, he's like soapboxing it and telling everybody about the juke joint, whatchamacallit, Sammy makes eyes with this older black woman. And they making eyes, they flirting and whatever, and then here come this white girl, right? And so she walks up looking mad, and then as she's walking up, the older white woman is the older black woman is passing her by, and she starts talking shit to Stack, and apparently they used to fuck, and like he left her because she's white. I don't care if her grandfather is half such and whatever the fuck. She's a white woman. The world is viewing her as a white woman. She's a white woman. In the movie, like in the Jim Crow South, because things were so close knit and everybody knew each other's family, it's easier. Like if you were even slightly called out as being like one drop of black in you, then you were immediately black and you were exiled and killed and raped and all sorts of bullshit. So that's why they're stressing mulatto and shit in this and things like that. But in reality, if she was dropped into the middle of a random ass town, and wouldn't nobody clock her for anything but a white woman. So the white woman comes up, starts cussing him out because he left her and and he set her up with some white man so she could live on a plantation and be rich and have money and shit like that. And she didn't want to be a white woman. She wanted to be black, and she cussing out Sammy and being mean to him and shit like that. And then I hate how she treats Sammy before she realizes who Sammy is. Cause I'm just like, are you really for black folks, girl? Unless they know you, like, are you really for the black people? Because why are you treating Sammy like that? He didn't do shit to you. Like, I mean, maybe being a white woman in the middle of the South, but like most of the time the niggas wasn't even trying to talk to y'all because they knew they would have got strung up and shit. So I didn't like that. But let's so she's mad, and he's like, fuck you, girl, and get the fuck away from me, and and I don't want to talk to you. And then people see us talking, they're gonna know that you're black, or they're gonna kill me, or whatever the fuck, and they're gonna kill you, and blah blah blah. And she was like, I didn't want to be black, and you wasn't saying that when you was eating my pussy, and blah. I was just like, okay, girl, he wasn't saying you really want this, you really want this. He's telling you get the fuck away. He's cussing you out. He calling you all sorts of. You really want? Okay, that we don't like. They wrote. That's how they wrote it. So she storms off, and goes, and then they go and they're driving to pick up somebody to guard the door, right? They go past this line, and it's a chain gang. And apparently, like, Delroy Lindo knows everybody in the chain gang. So he starts telling this story about how, and apparently this was improvised, like his whole monologue in the car, which is magical because he's an amazing actor, and the actors held their parts together. That's why it made it hard for me to find things I didn't like, but I did. It didn't make it hard. I think it makes it hard for other people to find the things and see the stuff that I saw, and that's why nobody's talking about the things that I saw. But anyways, he does his monologue about how him and his homies was doing some music. They got arrested by the sheriff, and then the police in the police station, they gave them back their instruments, and then they made them go to this mansion full of white folks and play some music. They passed around a hat. They all made a bunch of money because it was the rich, wealthy white people. And then his friend decided to take out all his money, get a $2 train ticket because he was going to go, I guess, to Oregon or somewhere to buy a property or do something. And the white people saw him get on the train, and then they made up some lie and strung him up at the train that he raped some white woman and stole the money, and then they strung him up at the train station and shit. So the man is traumatized, and that's why he drinks. After telling the story, he starts like stimming at first, like humming and shit to like calm himself down, because obviously he was triggered by telling the story. And then he goes into a song. Like, I think the music is like the coping skill, the stem, the thing to kind of get him centered, but the alcohol really like sets it off for him and shit, and that's sad. But these are the times and the places where there was no one to help us with our mental health. We didn't know what it looked like or the problems that we had and shit like that. So but at least we could see his pain. There was a lot of room for black male pain in this and white woman pain. Anyway, so they go pick up Cornbread, and Cornbread is a sharecropper as well. He's in the field picking cotton and shit like that. And Cornbread is like, well, I still got some stuff to do. I gotta meet a quota. And he's like, fuck your quota. And he was like, man, don't be cussing, my wife is here. He's like, fuck your wife. And I was just like, no, because when you're in a theater full of white people and they're laughing at the part where this nigga says fuck your wife and it's a black woman, it doesn't hit It's not funny. You're just looking around at these white people laughing at this. Or like when it was at the juke joint and the nigga was talking about, oh, y'all some classy niggas. And then you see the white people guffawing around you and you're just like, this is I feel like I'm in Get Out real quick. Like, this how y'all really feel? Okay. Okay. But I didn't experience that, but I've talked to people who have experienced that. I went at 12 p.m. in the afternoon when the theater was empty because I knew I wasn't trying to experience white people watching black people stuff, especially when there was a bunch of niggas and fuck them field bitches and shit being thrown around. I wasn't about to sit through white people watching that and laughing and thinking it was funny. And so anyways, Cornbread's wife, of course, is fine with this, you know, because that's how they wrote her. And she wants him to go and get some money. She's also pregnant too at the time that he said, "Fuck your wife," but you know, whatever, it's okay. Pretty gowns, lovely dresses, cinematography was amazing. You know, the vampires and the Irish connections and shit like that. Like, I didn't even know I was making any connections when in my last video when I was talking about how I was just came back from Ireland. But look at that. Look at how there's so many things. It was like a premonition and shit. Like, in my last video and shit. Like, oh God, okay. Lovely dresses, pretty gowns, magical. Anyways, and so they pick him up and they all go to the juke joint together to set shit up, and Asian family come to set shit up. Anyway, let's go back to Smoke and Annie. So he shows up at Annie's house, puts flowers on the dead baby's grave. Been gone for 7 years. Remember that. Remember, he's been gone for 7 years. So not only has Annie does she have a dead baby, she also lost a nigga at the same time because he was too weak to be vulnerable enough to stick around. But she was strong enough to be vulnerable to have her dead baby buried outside of her house this whole time for 7 years and just going through the motions of sadness that we didn't get to see because she stoically was just like, well, there's no point in complaining about misery. That's all we got from that. That's all he got. He got a full head on the chest. You know, I'm so sad that my baby's dead and I missed you. She was just like the stoic, strong black woman. Hated it. That had no feelings or emotions, that it didn't hurt. But this white woman could walk around and just be, why you leave me and shit, break into the damn juke joint. You left me and fucked them. My mama watched you and birthed you and blah, 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 blah. But, you know, we're stoic and strong, and we can lose a baby and a nigga and be perfectly fine and happy. I know, we'll get that. We'll get there. So he, like, you know, she acts mad for a second and then she like is like, what did you do, nigga? Like, think of like any nigga that just pops back up in your life after doing some fuck shit and tries to act normal and then tries to fuck you. That's what it felt like, the whole scene. I was just like, this is what we're okay. And then and then they wrote her so that she had no problem with that, because that's how they see black women. We're just gonna allow this. We have no emotions, we have no feelings, we just are here to cuddle you against our big bosoms and let you cry it out. You left her, nigga. She lost you and her baby, but you are the one that needs to cry it out on her bosoms. But you know what? It's okay. And then like they rut on the table. No, nigga, because if people are like, it's so intimate, and when did he touch her? I saw her licking and sucking on his ear. I saw her grabbing at his crotch. I saw her leaning in for a kiss. And then I saw him turn her around and stick his dick in her. Like, when did he touch her? When did he caress? And like, I mean, same with the white woman. Like, the women in this movie were just basically tools for this nigga to use. They, the ones with the most background, the only one that even had like a background that we learned more about was the white woman. Annie, all we know is that she's a magical hoodoo woman and she lost her baby. This white woman, we know that her mom used to birth these niggas. Her mom took care of these niggas. Her mom just died. This nigga used to fuck her. He left her there. He left her there with a white man in the plant. We got a whole fucking backstory for why this bitch is mad. Annie is a hoodoo woman who lost her baby. And it will immediately open her legs for the nigga. He could have been gone 20 years. Girl, if she wasn't able to cook, would he even have shown up at her house? I know she looked at him and was like, smoke. Like, be real. Like, and then he was like, I love you and I miss you. But no, nigga, because I just feel like if she couldn't cook, would he have shown up at her house? See, the first vampire in this motherfucker was smoke. Nobody's clocking it. Now, let's just mix in the bad with the good at this point. Because One Me did an amazing job acting this part with the parameters that she had. You know, they stuck her in a box. They made her be the stoic, strong black woman. She was goofy. She was silly. She was all of the emotions within the parameters that they gave her. Like, she couldn't be sad, though. She couldn't be hurt. She could just stoically say, you know, no point in complaining about misery. Let's move on. Here's some vagina, and I'll cook for you. I hated it. She was there waiting for 7 years, apparently thinking about him, praying for him while he was in Chicago, dissociating and fucking bitches and shooting people and, you know, like, whatever. It's whatever. Like, if things didn't go south in Chicago, would he even have ever came back? Girl, But we sitting here and we praying for him and we hoping and wishing and da-da-da. And as soon as they come back and give us a crumb, that's like to us, the crumb is the whole platter. That's how they wrote her. That's not how we are as people, as human beings. We are people. Let me get back to that. Because I have a whole spiel about that strong black woman. It's bothering me. So anyways, they go to the juke joint. Everyone's having a ball. Like, they dancing, and then like this is magical scene where Sammy plays the guitar, and then all the spirits come out, and from the past, present, future, and the ancestors and the gods. And I love the way it's shot. It's like when you're drunk at a party and you're stumbling around and everything seems surreal and shit like that. But then imagine that you're flying while that's happening. That was really interesting. I liked it. And when the barn caught on fire, I was just like, the roof is on fire. And now I'm just like, is that related to some type of like spiritual thing now? That little song that we sing as black folks when we at a party? I don't know. Or maybe it's just because it is a part of like it's about the intention. And even though it might be a newer thing, it still could be spiritual. That was magical. I mean, like, Mary, that's the white girl's name. She shows up, and of course, Cornbread doesn't recognize her at first, and she's a dick to Cornbread at first. And then he recognizes her because she tells him who she is, and then he's like, "Oh, okay, well, you know, come on in." And she goes in, and she's mad. And here comes Sammy. She got an attitude with Sammy until he tells her that he's his cousin, and all of a sudden, I just didn't like her little funky ass attitude. Whatever, girl. I'm trying. We're gonna mix the good with the bad. I'm tired. And so she goes in there and starts complaining about these niggas and telling her life story and being sad and miserable and whatever the fuck. White woman tears and things like that. I'm mad but you knew who this nigga was when you was fucking him back in the day. You knew who this nigga was when he left you with that white man on that plantation. You knew who this nigga, but like, that's how they wrote her. So, you know, whatever. No, because I keep saying that because I want you to recognize that these are choices. This is not real life, fate, destiny. This is how people are. No, this is choices that people made to make these characters like this. Because when I get to the shit that pissed me off, I want like you gonna understand why it pissed me off. Because I said they wrote them like this, and that because they're amazing actors, they played it to the caliber of Oscar-winning performances within the parameters that they were given. Right. And then like the older woman shows up at the place, and I'm just like, this is the only other lead dark skinned black female, and she's a fucking pedophile. I don't care what you're talking about. This nigga is playing this part like a 15, 16-year-old innocent little boy. She's a pedophile, and then she's married. So we got the strong black goddess, and we got the Jezebel seducing like pedophile bitch that will fuck anything. And I felt in my spirit that these are the only representations. Like, why one me don't get to cry about the fact that her baby gone? Why can't she put her head on this nigga's chest? Like, she lost two people, you lost one, and you were too much of a coward to be vulnerable enough to just be sad. Like, you left her there by herself in the middle of fucking woods in the shack. She sent you off with protection and everything. You just left her in that motherfucking at least Stack left that white bitch with a rich nigga on a plantation. Why you didn't leave Annie with a rich nigga or something so she could have somebody? Person be like, well, he sent her money and that ain't his presents. She still had to cope by her fucking self. I wanted to give her a hug. I was just like, girl, because when y'all know how it feels like when a nigga that's trifling just pops right back up in your life when you've healed. You know what it feels like. Don't sit here acting obtuse like she was in real life. She would have been fine and stoic and giving up the vagina. And you know what? She probably would have, because a lot of us are hurt and broken and we'll push it down and act like we're not bothered by certain things just to get the crumbs, because that's all we think we can get. And so, you know what? That's how they wrote her. I'm tired. I am exhausted. So anyways, while they're in there, Stack arguing with Mary, and Smoke just overseeing everything, and he sees that like the folks are paying with these wood nickels. So basically, because of white supremacy and racism, the owners of the land that like let the sharecroppers rent land from them didn't pay them with monies. A lot of the times they would pay them with these wood nickels that were good, like coupons that were good for the market, the little store, but it didn't help because they weren't able to stack up their money to pay back the land so that they can own the land. They weren't able to do that. They didn't want them to do that. So that's racism and white supremacy and all that other stuff. So these sharecroppers and field folks are coming in paying with these wood nickels, and they ain't making ends meet. And so Smoke takes Stack and Annie to the back talking about, why you letting them pay with wood nickels? And that's what I mean when I say One Me played this part to the best of her capabilities, and to give this woman more emotions than just, I'm a strong black stoic bitch that feels nothing and is only here as a tool for this nigga. And she was just like, have fun, loosen the fuck up. Like, you gotta meet people where they're at, chill the fuck out. But this nigga, being the stoic motherfucker that he is, he's just like, no, I want to do. And they were just like, well, you gonna lose all the customers you got, so wait a minute, we gotta figure something else out. This is the first night. You could have said first night discount and shit like that. You could have thought of that ahead of time. You could have been like, first night discount and shit, and then you could have been like, okay, but every other night you gotta pay with real money because they got another club in the town that Delroy is playing at and it's thriving. So how are they thriving? See, we're not thinking things through. We're being impulsive and we're not paying attention to things that we're supposed to be paying attention to. It doesn't make sense. And so like Smoke chills out for a little bit, but then like later on in the night he goes in the back with Stack and he's like, look, this is the plantation money, this is the wood nickels, and then this is the real money that we getting. And basically if they keep paying with wood nickels and not real money, we gonna be out of new money in 2 months. And so they trying to figure it out, and then here come the white people. So basically earlier in the movie, I forgot this part, we are introduced to the vampire. His name is Remick. He's an Irish motherfucker from 1300 years ago when the Christians were taking over his country, and Henry VIII and all them other evil motherfuckers and shit were, the evil white people. They colonized themselves first, and then they went across the world and colonized everybody else. That's what I mean. They hate themselves. Like, that's what racism is. I don't like myself, So I'm gonna do shit to you. And like literally, like if you go to the UK, like being a redhead is like being a nigga in that motherfucker. Like no, and if you go to Ireland, they over here like, I remember I went to one of these visitor centers at one of these ruins, and they were trying to explain to me about the ruin. And as soon as that Henry VIII crossed his lips, he was like, and he was a horrible ass mother. I was like, damn, they really mad about that shit. I know that's right. I know that you better be mad, because the Irish motherfuckers over here that's been assimilated into whiteness, they done forgot, because they get the perks of whiteness, so they just like, well, fuck it then. Like, fuck it then, we don't give a fuck. It's like West Side Story. Like, you fighting them Puerto Ricans like them niggas wasn't about to take your fucking part of the city and the Puerto Ricans part of the city. Like, what is you talking about? They don't like none of y'all. But as soon as them niggas got assimilated into whiteness, it was just like, oh, well, I don't know what you're talking about. But them motherfuckers in Ireland, that native Ireland and shit, they mad as a motherfucker still about them motherfucking what he did to their country, and these white people in the UK and what they did to their country. And I felt it in my motherfucking spirit, bitch. Yes, God. It's nice to see. It's nice to see that there's some white folks that act regular and understand shit and stuff. It's magical. So anyways, he pops up at their door, or actually he pops up at these white folks' door right in the beginning, and he's talking about the Indians are coming to get me, and he's the Indians they got me and they chasing me, and then the white folks are just like, they ain't no Indians around here. It might have been light-skinned nigger, and he was like, no, there is Indians, and so they let him in the house because simple-minded folk. And then here come these Native American folks. Like, I want to know more about them than fuck everything else. Like, are they like, Native American vampire hunters and shit? Like, I want to see a movie about them and shit. I want to know about the Wendigo and the Skinwalkers and the Chupacabras and all them other native, monsters and shit. Like, I be listening to the creepypastas when they be talking about the Wendigos and shit like that. I want to know more about it and shit. So I like that. I liked how they integrated these different cultures and shit, and how we all been working together and shit, and like how we're all oppressed. That was nice. And so, of course, he turns the whole family and eats the baby. There was a baby. He ate the baby. And so him and the two white folks show up at the door, right? The two white folks that he turned earlier in the day. And they turn up after Sammy sings his song because, they were talking about in the beginning, the narrator was like, oh, there's people with magical powers that can like draw in spirits and ancestors and stuff, and it can be good spirits or bad spirits with their music, right? So Sammy is the one that draws in the spirit, and he's the one that is the doorway between life and death. Like she can see. She's a seer, and she's a hoodoo woman, right? Which I really love. And I wish that like there was more, like, I just wanted her to do more with the hoodoo. They weren't going to give her more character. Let me shut up. Personality, depth of character. They weren't going to do that. No, because it's a pattern. Pattern recognition is a bitch, because you see things that other people don't see. And then when you point it out, they get pissed off at you, and you're just like, but like, you see how that we know more about this white woman than, where did Annie learn the hoodoo from? Like who was taking care of her them 7 years while this nigga was gone? Like, who was showing up for her? Like, this nigga was mad because she was letting little kids give her the plantation money or whatever the fuck it was for her stuff, and he was just like, I can give you real money. She was like, I want your curse money. And I was like, right, like, what did you, girl? Anytime she showed softness that was not directed at him, he was mad. That's what I noticed. You show softness to them little kids, and you let them take that stuff with the fake money, and you were fine, and then he's mad. You show softness to the rest of the folks out there. No, it doesn't make sense, but we can work around that. This could have been a first night thing, and then you could have changed it later on. It's not that fucking serious. You're not planning ahead. You're not planning. And you're mad at her, but you can he lay his head on her bosoms and get some vaginas. He's perfectly fine. I'm just, One me played that fucking part with the box that they put her in, and I just was like, yes, girl, magical. So they come to the door, right, and they heard Sammy singing, and they want to come inside and play music and da da da, and they're like, no, you can't come in, like, no, because they was waiting for the Ku Klux Klan to show up anyways, and so it was like, no, you can't come in, and da 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 da. And so Smoke about to pull his gun out and shoot them, but they were like, oh no, never mind, and they went off and sat on a log outside like some dejected ass motherfuckers and stuff, and started playing they music and stuff, right? And so like Stack goes to Mary and tells Mary about the situation with the money and stuff. So Mary's all like, well, let me go out here and talk to these white folks. And people are like, Mary has to go out there because she's a representation of white supremacy and how we open our, like how we are so weak-minded to white people. And it is. And I still didn't like it. I was just like, this bitch. And then the fact that Stack, I just was like, nigga, you that weak-minded? Is it what is it? What is it? What the fuck, girl? you guys Smoke over here always like, I have to watch out for him. Obviously you do, because he just everybody else felt the energy of evil except for these two motherfuckers, the motherfuckers that were closest to whiteness. And I was just like, yo, that makes sense. That, you know, you weak-minded, you persuaded by whiteness, you calling, you know, black women, telling that nigga fuck his wife, and then calling the other black women field bitches and shit. Like, the patterns are patterning, and it just feels like you don't like black women like you know, you not only do you want to fuck white women, because that's a preference, that ain't none of my business, but you don't like black women. Stack, you don't. It's, you know, like there's some type of like something in there, and I was just, because it happened more than once, and when it happens more than once, it's on purpose. I don't care what you're talking about. So Mary goes outside to talk to these people, and they talking about, you need us, and and so she gets freaked out and turns her motherfucking back on them. And I was just like, why are you turning your back? Girl, she no sense of, they bite her, she comes back to the door, Cornbread lets her in. She finds Stack, drags him to the back, fucks him, and then bites him. And then Smoke, you know, after stomping a nigga out for having fake dice, comes in and sees her on the floor eating her brother, eating his brother. Eating his brother. And, you know, and then at some point earlier in the night, like, you know, this older woman molested Sammy. I don't know, like, it's gross. Like, he was eating her vagina, and I just felt disgusted. I was just like, you know how many black men out here have been molested by a grown-ass woman and don't even realize it, and they wonder why they're hypersexualized, and why, like, their only coping skill is to have an orgasm, and why they have commitment issues, and why they're depressed, and why they have substance abuse issues, and why they don't like themselves. Because you were molested. Because you weren't ready at that age to be touched on by an adult. Like, you weren't, like, the way kids fuck around and stuff is not the same way that an adult fucks around and stuff, okay? And it's gross and it's weird, and he was being molested. And I don't care, you talking about, well, he asked to eat her vagina. Like, if a 16-year-old boy asked you to eat your vagina, you would say yes as a grown-ass woman. And if you would, there's something fucking wrong, because the thought of that makes me feel gross. I would feel gross. I feel like wanting to vomit. And then I would ask this child, like, who hurt you? What happened? Who girl, where's your parents? Is it your parents that hurt you? Who told you this was okay? Let me I'm calling DCFS. No, the ramifications, that's fucking nasty. Like, she was a grown-ass woman, and he played that part like a 15, 16-year-old boy. That's what I'm going with. I don't care what you're talking about. I looked all online. They didn't say how old he was, but he was a child. I don't care. It's a teenager. It's fucking disgusting. So, you know, I just wanted to get that out there, because that's nasty. Everybody's all like, it's so sensual, and he licked her button and shit. And I'm just like, he's a fucking teenager. She was like, what, 28? As a 28-year-old, when I was 28, I was not checking for no fucking 15, 16-year-old girl. That's disgusting how we sexualize these young boys. That is so gross. And then we wonder why black men don't want us or love us or why they act the way that they act and shit like that. Well, we got to recognize the part that we play in it too. Like, like that's why it's hard. Like, if you like men that are attractive, like, you know, you want a man that's attractive, that's cute and shit like that. That's why it's hard to find one of them niggas, because when men are attractive, from a very young age, they're sexualized. And they develop a personality around being attractive rather than developing like a full breadth of a personality. And so that's why you got these niggas that when you swiping on the apps, all they put is that I have green eyes. All they put is like I'm 6'5" in their bio, and that's it. Because that's all they see in themselves. They do not see anything else in themselves except for how they look. They've been sexualized so much that their personality is wrapped around their looks, and which makes them crash out eventually, because there's more in there than how you look, love. And because you are not consciously aware of your emotions and how things trigger you and how they affect you, and being vulnerable enough to be open with yourself and understanding yourself, that's why niggas be crashing out and ain't gonna be committed to you. And that's why it's hard to find a nigga that is beautiful in the face and the body, because they've been a lot of them have been sexualized, a lot of them have been molested, and they haven't formed a personality outside of that. That's why this disgusted me. Because it just perpetuates it, and no one's clocking it. Everyone's just like, oh, it's sensual, sexual seduction. And I was like, he was like 15 or 6. I was so like grossed out in the movie theater when he started eating her vagina. I was like, I did this. I was like, no, I'm okay. I'm okay. This is a child. Or he's giving child tease. And when you give child tease, I'm not going to sit up here and pretend like, oh, he's 19 or 20 or whatever. Even then, like, ew, like, if you give young innocent tease, I don't care how old you are. I don't want to ew, like, I'm going to ruin this or something. I'm going to traumatize you, or like, you need to figure out your own life and your own path in the way that you need to figure it out. Like, it's not for me to, mess with that. Anyways, I sound so mean. I'm not trying to sound mean. It's just like, no one's talking about this stuff. These things are like glaring things, and I'm just like, am I the only one that sees that this shit is like horrible? Like how the women in this movie were portrayed. Like, and I can understand, like, okay, these niggas are assholes. They were traumatized. Their dad beat them, so they don't know how to interact with women and all this other stuff. If you hadn't given the white woman a background. If all the bitches was just like, tools for these men to just use, then I'll just, even a little girl in the beginning, just a tool for these niggas to use. Watch my car, little girl. Then I would have just been like, okay, well, whatever. But like, no, you gave this white bitch a background. She had like a whole story. Annie doesn't have a story outside of being a hoodoo woman and losing a child and hiding for this nigga for 7 years. That's all. She was a tool even when this nigga wasn't around. And then the other dark-skinned woman, she played with the best she could within the parameters she had. I wish that she didn't have to play a pedophile, but it is what it is. She sang a good song. She did a good dance. She, had the inflections in her voice with her acting. She did a good job, with the acting that she within the parameters that she was given. But she was still set up. I felt like it was a setup. Like, you set her up as a fucking pedophile. And that ain't okay, love. That's not. What are we doing? Like, are we all supposed to just be like sinners and we choose the darkness and like, anyways, Remick. Oh, niggas ain't gonna like me for this. I don't care. I just see things. Neurodivergency, pattern recognition. I don't know what to tell you. You don't have to like it. I don't know what to tell you. Anyways, so Remick, Mary goes out there, they bite her, she comes back in, she kills Stack, and then I keep wanting to call him Stone, Smoke goes in there, shoots her 11 times in the chest, and she jumps right back up and runs out the door and shit. And then they lock the door, send everybody away, and then they trying to figure out what's going on. Oh my God, what's going on? Of course, Annie is the one with all the answers. So at first she thinks it's a haint, so it's like a demon that inhabits and eats your soul and inhabits your body and shit. Until Stack wakes up and starts banging his head on the door and doing all this weird shit and all this other stuff. And then, because they locked the door, they locked him in there because Smoke was too distraught to, like, you know, send him outside because that's his brother and he loves him and stuff. And so once he wakes up, that's when Annie decides, he breaks down the door and Annie throws like some pickled garlic in his face. And I was just like, the pickled garlic reminds me of this jar of garlic and vinegar that used to be in my grandmother's refrigerator. And she would just refill it, like if it emptied out, she would like it would be the same garlic. She would just put more vinegar in it and shit. And we would use that to put on greens. Like as seasoning, as sauce for the greens. And that's what it made me think of. And I was just like, how do you make that? Because like greens ain't never tasted the same since I became an adult, because I don't know how to make the pickled garlic. And that's what I think that's what it's called. I think that's what she had in her refrigerator. She from Texas. She was from Texas and shit. Tyler, Texas. And she had this jar from when I was a child all the way up until before I left that motherfucking house. It was always in there. Just a pickled garlic. And I didn't know what that shit was called. I just said it was garlic and some vinegar, and it's been in there for decades and shit. But every time there was some greens made in the house, I would be using that shit as seasoning, as sauce for the greens. So now I know what it's called. It's pickled garlic, and I'm gonna figure out how to make it so that, you know, next time I have some greens I can put it on there, because the greens ain't never tasted the same. And I used to try to just put regular like vinegar on it and shit, and it still wasn't the same. It was nasty. So now I know. There you go. So I learned something. So anyway, she threw the pickled garlic in his face. He's like, ah, and then he runs out, right? And then everybody's just shook and whatever. And so like then they trying to figure out what to do. They go around the corner and see this nigga on the floor, right? And they think he's dead because he got like a bunch of like, it looked like blood is on the floor around him. So they put him outside, and then they notice that they over there doing like the Harlem Shake, the Irish Shake and shit, nigga. They over there doing the step to it and shit in the Irish song. I like that scene. I was like, this is magical. Look at them dancing and gyrating and, you know, jubilation and everything. I was like, you know, music is a magical thing. And so they singing a song, and they just looking at them, and then they go back inside, right? And so they trying to figure out what to do, right? Earlier tonight, like after like this nigga shot Mary 52 times in the chest, the Asian lady husband went to go get the car because they was gonna leave and go back to town where their daughter was, right? They didn't make it back. Their daughter is an orphan now. I don't know what's gonna happen to them stores. I mean, she was a teenager, but it looked like, you know, back in the day, like they was treating kids like fucking adults, and there was no rights for children. So maybe she can manage them 2 stores by herself. I don't fucking know, but like she ain't got no fucking family. She ain't got no parents no more. That's fucking horrible. That's horrible. God bless that little baby. You know, in that dimension, you know, I always think every media is like a dimension. And that dimension where that little baby is, I hope she figures it out, you know. Every book, every movie, that's a different dimension. So anyways, they the dude that they threw out, well, first before that, so Annie has the idea that everybody needs to eat a piece of garlic to prove that they are, you know, not a vampire. So everybody's eating a piece of garlic, but then, you know, Pearline, whatever her fucking name is, just starts like, I don't want the garlic. I don't. Now see if they had gave her more of a background and a personality. Like maybe she got a neurodivergency, a sensory issue. Because when you got a sensory issue and you eating some shit that you don't want to eat, it feels like the devil is in your mouth. It's like when I eat grapefruit and it starts tasting like bleach. or like maybe she's allergic to garlic and she's gonna go into anaphylactic shock or some shit, like, stuff like that. But we don't give her any other personality outside of being a pedophile. So it's annoying, and it's, of course, they're like, if you don't eat this fucking garlic, we're gonna kill you. So she eats the garlic and she shoves it down, and she's, and then Delroy eats the garlic, and I don't know what the conniption he's having with the garlic, and he drank too much of the Irish beer and then mixed together, and whatever the fuck is wrong. And then the dude that they threw out wakes up, right? He see them niggas over there singing the Irish ditty and everything, and then he started banging on the door like, let me in, they out here being weird and shit, nigga. Like, I was just like, they doing some weird shit. I was like, oh shit, okay. And before they could make it to the door, the fucking vampires attack him, right? But they open the door to see the vampire drinking his blood, and that's when the Asian lady husband come up talking about, I got the car, come, let's go get in the car. And she's just staring at him, and I'm just like, see, maybe I've seen too many movies, or just been through too much stuff, or lost too many people to where, like, I'm not afraid to lose a nigga. Like, this is vampire and zombie apocalypse rules at this point. Once you get bitten, you're dead. I don't care if he's walking and talking and shit, nigga, you are dead. Like, once you're dead, you're dead. Like, I'm not gonna be persuaded. I'm not afraid to lose anybody. Like, you got me, I'll be sad. The fuck? I'll be sad. I'll be like, oh my nigga's dead. Sad to be standing right in front of me, walking and talking and everything, and I'd be like, my nigga is dead, y'all. He is dead. I'm right here. No, he's dead. He's dead. I'm right here. No, he's dead. Oh God, close the door. But that's not this character. So she listening to him low-key, and then here comes Stag talking about, there's freedom out here outside with the evil white vampires that want to eat us and take our music and shit, and there's freedom and not ever being able to see the sunshine, or one day when they invent planes, not being able to travel the world properly, or unless you're being stowed away in a fucking crate underneath the plane or some shit, or some weird shit. It's so much freedom. Can't move through the world the way I want to unless it's at nighttime. So much freedom. You can take a red eye, but you gotta hope and pray that shit don't get there in this daytime. So much freedom. And I just was like, is this like the choice to be a sinner? Like, is this like, oh, I choose to be with the vampire, so that means I'm a sinner? I'm just like, okay. You chose the white is right. And I was just like, oh, well, it's a choice. I was rocking and rolling with it, all the way up until, like, this Asian bitch started freaking the fuck out because they threatened her daughter. And she told them niggas to come inside. And I was just like, what are you going to do to stop a bunch of vampires? What did you think you were? Because she was like damn near the first one to die. She caught on fire. The child is an orphan now. What were you gonna do, love? What were you gonna do? And even then I was just like, and then there's this big fight, and then them niggas killed Annie. Now, earlier in the night, Annie was throwing the bones, and I guess she saw in the bones that, like, she might get bit or whatever the fuck. And so she's like, if I get bit, you kill me because I got somebody waiting on the other side for me. And I was just like, no, because they wrote her that way. And I was just like, so not only are we these stoic, unfeeling, unemotional creatures, unless the only emotion is happiness, or like we're angry. We also will sacrifice and martyr ourselves, girl, because one brother turned her, and then the other brother stabbed her in the chest. And I said, so we killed this bitch off. That's what okay. I still was trying to roll with it, because then I was like, well, maybe everyone's gonna die. Maybe that's what the movie's about. Everyone's gonna die. And then they running up the stairs, and here come Remick through the doorway, and then Pearline dies because she jumps in front of the vampire and martyrs herself for this young nigga. And I was just, okay, maybe everyone's gonna die, right? Maybe they're all gonna die, right? And so then like they jump down from the thing, like Sammy jumps down from the thing and then runs to the lake, and the nigga's about to bite him. And while that's happening, like Smoke and Stack is fighting in the barn back and forth, and then Smoke gets on top of Stack and is about to stab him in the chest, and then we cut back to and then before Remy could bite him, here comes Smoke stabbing him in the chest, and then the sun is coming up, so all the vampires are dead, right? So like, okay, I can ride with the strong black woman and the Jezebel and the tragic mulatto and whatever. Like we all got equal treatment, and so it's whatever, right? And then the white men come, like Smoke sends Sammy back to his dad to just go, and Sammy chooses to play music for the rest of his life because his dad wants him to not, and he's like, fuck this shit, I'm playing music, it soothes my soul. And then the KKK come, and then here comes Smoke out the bushes because him and his brother was in World War II and was shooting and fighting niggas and shit. So he come out the bushes with some rifles and some AKs and whatever the name of them guns are, and he's shooting people. It was funny because he looked like a little bunny rabbit. I was like, oh, that's cute. And then he gets shot in the side, and I was just like, if the bullet went straight through, and in any other action movie he would have survived. I saw the blood squirt out, so I was just like, well, maybe they hit an organ, and now because usually when a squirt happens, that means you hit some shit that's important. So, he's bleeding to death as he's sitting over the Grand Dragon of the KKK, and he's dying. Grand Dragon's begging for his life. Smoke asking for a cigarette. There's a lot of cigarettes in this movie. Like, why couldn't they just smoke weed? Like, you can make this anything you wanted. That's none of my business. Smoking with cigarettes. Yes. And so Smoke's sitting there lighting a cigarette, and he looks over, and there's Annie as a goddess from heaven with their baby. And he's about to reach out to get the baby, and then the white man is talking about some stupid shit about how he got some money, and then Smoke fills him full of bullets, and then he turns and takes the baby and talking about Papa's here, and I was okay. I didn't like that Papa's here. It just didn't sound to my ears. I didn't like when he said it. It didn't sound real. I was like, Papa's here, and I was just like, I mean, if that's what it ain't none of my business. That's none of my business. Let me shut up. I'm trying to be nice. I really am trying my hardest to be nice. The shit ain't hit yet, so I'm still pretty decently sober. Because I still want to see black people winning. Like, this is a #1 movie. It's an original story. Ryan Coogler got the deal of a lifetime where he gets to own this shit after 25 years and shit. Like, hopefully nothing goes wrong within them 25 years because white people, they're trifling and evil. And so I'm not trying to steal, like, I don't even think nobody gonna watch this like this, so I don't know, you don't have to listen to me, so I'm not trying to like throw shit on stuff, but it's like I see shit, I have to say shit, okay? See some, say some. That's just who the fuck I am. So this is what you're getting from me. If you don't like it, don't watch it. And then we cut to Sammy, playing in the blues club. And I was just like, oh, look at him. He's old. This is like a real blues person. I love the blues influence and all this other stuff. Let me get to the first after credits. Sammy sitting at a bar. Here come this nigga with his Coogee sweater and his high top fade with this fucking white woman talking about how they're free. Do you want to be free too, Sammy? Because the thing is, when the age you get turned is the age you look for the rest of your life. I don't want to be turned at fucking 80, nigga. Like, what? Sammy's like, no, I'm good. I've lived a long life. And I was like, right. Like, why the fuck was I walking around for 500 years looking like I'm 80 years old? Like, what's the point of that? Like, you didn't come when I was 25, maybe even 35. 35 is a decent age. You've been through enough stuff to, like, have a good boundaries and shit. Like, you be a vampire. No, he lived. This nigga lived. And the white woman lived while both of them niggas basically killed Annie. And then Pearline was sacrificed. And I was just like, now we get to the bad. These women in this movie was just used as a tool for these niggas. Like, the black women that were so happy to get representation for, and they played their part and they did a good job, and I am not upset at them at all. I think that they did the best that they could with the parameters that they had, but they still were archetypes and monoliths. They weren't real people. And I don't even think it was Ryan Coogler, because Ryan Coogler did Black Panther 1 and Black Panther 2, and Shuri had all the depths of emotion. Black Panther 1, she was a kid sister that was fun and nerdy and sciencey and running after her older brother and all this other stuff. She had personality. Black Panther 2, she went through all the fucking stage, and I think that's why they don't like Black Panther 2, because she went through all the stages of grief, and niggas can't handle black women's pain. They don't see it. They don't care about it. And so that's why Annie was written as a strong black woman. Let's look at the definition real quick. I pulled up some articles and studies, and no, because you're not going to say that I'm just up here, jaded and fucked up and blah, blah, blah. So let's say, okay, so the strong black woman archetype and therapeutic outcomes, examining relationships among women with childhood sexual abuse histories. This is a study that was done. And I'm just going to read the abstract. So the abstract says, the strong black woman archetype describes a cultural pattern where black women are expected to present as physically and mentally strong, regardless of past and ongoing stressors. The strong black woman archetype has served the historical purpose of aiding survival for black women throughout the years of racial and gender oppression. However, the practice has also been associated with adverse mental health and with behaviors such as self-silencing that could impede therapeutic process. The purpose of the study was to investigate the relationship between adherence to the strong black woman archetype and therapeutic outcomes, i.e. satisfaction with therapy, satisfaction with therapists, perceptions of one's global improvement in therapy among black women with child sexual abuse histories. But I'm not going to read all of it because, like, the child sexual abuse, it doesn't apply here. We don't know enough about her for that to apply here. But the strong black woman archetype is, damaging to black women. Like, you put her as somebody that immediately will just give. This man shows up in her life after 7 years. She got her baby's grave right outside her house. She lost a baby and a nigga, and she's expected to comfort this nigga. And she doesn't have any real emotions about, anything that's happened. She's not bothered at all. And I don't like that she was written that way. And like I said, I don't think it was Ryan Coogler, because there was so many emotions in Shuri. There was so many emotions in her, so many depths of emotions. And that's why I think that they hate Black Panther 2, because they cannot stand to see us have emotions that are challenging, because they don't know how to comfort us. They don't know how to comfort us, and they hate it. That's why they hate us seeing us comfort ourselves. You know how many times I've cried and people have just stared at me in shock like I shouldn't even be crying? That's why I said I think this was a premonition in my last video, because like I talked about in my last video, like how black women's love is so deep and nurturing that if you don't love yourself enough to accept it, you're just going to look at it as something to utilize for you and to mammy. And that's what he did. That's what they did with this character. And like, there are black women out here crashing out, depressed, anxious, overwhelmed, sad. Like, there are black women doing drugs, killing themselves, things like that. Like, I told you the story about my ex, and like in the last video, and like he stressed me out so much that I didn't even know what was going on. I knew I had ulcers, but I didn't know that that was the result of the ulcers. One night I'm up throwing up chunks of congealed blood into the damn toilet, thinking that I'm dying. And excuse me, I literally thought I literally thought I had internal bleeding and I was fucking dying. I'm crying, I'm sobbing. This nigga has enough wherewithal to take me to the ER. That's nice. That was nice. He didn't leave me lying there on the fucking floor throwing up fucking congealed blood and just leave. And while I'm there laying in the bed in the ER, him and the Latina nurse are berating me for crying. It's not that big of a deal. I'm literally still throwing up chunks of blood into the little napkin thing that they got covering my chest. And while she's trying to stick a tube down my throat, and I'm crying at the same time, and she's like, "You need to stop crying and throwing up so I can stick the tube down your throat." What do you mean stop? Like, just a reaction, and this nigga staring at me like rolling his eyes and shit, like, "Oh my god, like, why are you crying?" Like, there was and the thing is, it didn't have to even be something that's an emergency. There was a situation. There was a time where we were at a haunted house. And I was scared. And so I grabbed this nigga's arm. And this nigga's doing this, trying to push me off his arm. And I'm just like... And basically, I had to walk through the haunted house, wanting to hold on to somebody. And so when I see a character like Annie show no emotion to severe trauma... and instead being muled to support this nigga through his severe trauma with no reciprocity, I just was like, what the fuck is this? Let me add, I would have been fine with it if she had lived. But no, like they both played a part in her death, and I don't even care if she asked for it, because the thing is, you were too emotional to kill your brother. It was too much. So if you had really loved her like that, you would have been too emotional to kill her too. Like, I don't understand. Like, you didn't care about that bitch. You didn't care about that bitch. So one turns her, tries to make her evil and shit, and I just feel like she's this pedestalized archetype. And it's interesting, like, okay, I didn't want to make this personal, like, as far as talking about the actor himself, but when you make it personal yourself, then it's hard not to. So I had my misgivings about this movie before this movie even came out, before I even saw the previews. When I saw a clip of them interviewing Michael B. Jordan and him saying that I resonate the most with Stack. If people that know me will see pieces of my personality in that character. And I was just like, oh, okay, well, maybe that might be interesting to see what because you said this is pieces of your personality and shit. Like, I still don't really know 100% what the movie's about, but like, it might be interesting to see. And then I saw the full trailer, and Stack was the one with the white woman, and I was just like, no, because you cannot make art without putting a piece of yourself into it, putting your emotions into it, or the art will be bland and robotic. So you've already admitted, I don't even have to surmise or guess, you already admitted that you put a piece of yourself into this art. That was the character with the white woman. That was the character that was weak-willed and weak-minded and impulsive and had to be looked after because he was easily swayed over to the... And my pattern recognition is just going off because now I'm going back to Raising Dion and how that Asian man wrote that comic book and saw a dark-skinned black woman raising her dark-skinned magical son. He could see a dark-skinned black woman doing that. And you said, when you bought the show, you said, oh no, I'm going to make the mom light-skinned at it. I don't even care if they made the son light-skinned. Like, you know what? That's a child. You don't make the mom light-skinned. Okay, you know what? I still to this day ain't seen Raising Dion because you ruined that motherfucking shit for me. I'm still upset. And then we got Creed 3. Where every black woman was light-skinned. I'll say that. Maybe some of them were mixed. Every black woman in that movie was light-skinned. Even the singer that they had at the little event that they had, they picked Kehlani off the album instead of Ari Lennox, who was also on the album for that fucking movie. Except for the maid. The maid for Felicia Rashad is a dark-skinned black woman. That was the only dark-skinned black woman in that movie. She didn't speak. I don't even think they showed... I think they showed like half her face when she was bending down to give Felicia Rashad some medicine because she was the mother. She was older and she was sick or whatever. And I was just like, what mammy 1950s bullshit is this? And now you're telling me, see, pattern recognition. See, I come with receipts, so y'all not gonna sit up here and be like, you're just, no, bitch. Like, after Creed 3, I said I wasn't gonna watch this nigga's stuff because it's traumatizing to see how they see you. So then you go and you say out your mouth that the character that you resonate the most is the weak-minded character that is with the white woman that decides to be a vampire and stay with this white woman. And, I'm just like, so is this your shadow self? And then Smoke is your light self. And you don't think you're good enough for the light, so you gotta kill the light? Is that what's going on? No, I wouldn't have made it personal if that nigga didn't make it personal. Like, he said it in the fucking interview. Don't do me. Don't fucking do me. And I don't make shit up like that. Okay? He said he resonates with Stack. That's his personality is in that character. So now I'm just going to take it a step further and just be like, because the way that Smoke treated Annie was like reverence, respect. You pushed her so high up on that pedestal that she wasn't even a human being anymore. And wanted me put pieces of humanity into her character, but every time she put pieces of humanity into her character, it wasn't paid attention to unless those pieces of humanity were directed at that nigga. And I was just like, oh God, is that how you see black women? Like, we're just either this pedestalized warrior goddesses that are way too powerful and make you feel weak and vulnerable inside. So like, we need to, you need to siphon and mule as much as you can from us, and then we need to die. Or we're these Jezebel. Let's look at Jezebel, because that's what Pearline's character was. She was the Jezebel. No, we're doing all of the archetypes. All the archetypes and shit. No. Okay. So I looked up Jezebel. The portrayal of black women as lascivious by nature is an enduring stereotype. The descriptive words associated with this stereotype are singular in their focus: seductive, alluring, worldly, beguiling, tempting, and lewd. Historically, white women as a category were portrayed as models of self-respect, self-control, and modesty, even sexual purity. But black women were often portrayed as innately promiscuous, even predatory. This depiction of black woman is signified by the name Jezebel. And I'm just like, okay, so she's the Jezebel, and that's the parameters of her character that you kept her in. And I'm just like, is this like a subconscious thing? Because I've dated subconscious colorist niggas, and all you hear about Michael B. Jordan is that he's the nicest person in the world from everybody who interacts with him. And I've dated niggas like that are the nicest people in the world, everybody who interacts with them. And occasionally, once every few months, that nigga would remind me that, usually they light-skinned women, but and me, that was like my first boyfriend, me being 21 years old, not having any relationships at all. I thought I was special. Youth and ignorance. And that's why I want to date young people, because you can get away with saying shit like that to a young person who hasn't experienced niggas like that. And they'll just think they're special. And I just kept thinking I was special until I didn't. I must be so special. He chose me over light-skinned bitches. Oh, I was so young. I was so youthful. The youth. Oh, I can't even be mad at myself. I just wanted to feel special. But he was the nicest guy. Sweet, kind, wonderful, all of it. It was magical, until I was too emotional and was crashing out, and my mom had just died and everything was going to shit and all this shit was happening in my family, and I needed this emotional support that he was not capable of providing, because he was traumatized and youthful. And I also think a part of it is black women's pains disgust these niggas and stuff. And so did not know how to interact with me being broken and needing support. So is it subconscious? Like, you want them subconscious colorist niggas? Like, what's going on? Like, you don't know that, you don't see yourself, you don't see the patterns of behaviors that you're displaying. Like, you pedestalize this dark-skinned black woman. Either we're on a pedestal, we are magical and wonderful and great, and you respect us to the utmost, but you're still going to mule us and you're still intimidated by our magic that you perceive in us. So we're not humans to you, and we don't hurt, and so we need to die. Or we are abusive Jezebel bitches that be molesting young boys, and so we need to die. Or because none of the women are treated right. Like, just because he chose the white woman, like, if you're broken inside, you're still not going to treat the white woman right. Like, she was the tragic mulatto. And so the tragic mulatto, let's see, I looked that up too. Let's just give you a little definition of that. Okay, so Lydia Maria Child introduced a literary character that we call the tragic mulatto in two short stories, The Quadroons and Slavery Pleasant Homes. The Quadroons and Slavery's Pleasant Homes. She portrayed this light-skinned woman as the offspring of a white slaveholder and an enslaved black female. This mulatto's life was indeed tragic. She was ignorant of both her mother's race and her own. She believed herself to be white and free. Her heart was pure, her manners impeccable, her language polished, and her face beautiful. Her father died, her Negro blood discovered. She was remanded to slavery, deserted by her white lover, and died a victim of slavery and white male violence. A similar portrayal of the near white mulatto appeared in Clotel, a novel written by black abolitionist William Wells Brown a century later. Literary and cinematic portrayals of the tragic mulatto I read that too fast. A century later, literary and cinematic portrayals of the tragic mulatto emphasized her personal pathology, self-hatred, depression, alcoholism, sexual perversion, and suicide attempts being the most common. If light enough to pass as white, she did, but passing led to deeper self-loathing. She pitied or despised black people and the blackness in herself. She hated or feared white people, yet desperately sought their approval. In a race-based society, the tragic mulatto found peace only in death. She evoked pity or scorn, not sympathy. Sterling Brown summarized the treatment of tragic mulattoes by white writers. So basically, she's a tragic mulatto. She just, wants to be black, but like not too black, because she over here getting attitude with damn near every black person that come across her path that she don't know. And so her walking around complaining and being sad at the juke joint, white woman tears, that's what it's supposed to represent, but it also served to give her a background story too. So I just felt like she has a background and the other two don't. And he didn't treat her right. He treated her like shit too. Like, because these niggas, like, it's not good whether you're light or dark. Like, these niggas see you as objects. They pedestalize these white women as, accessories to hang off their arm, to show off to people. But even when these white women actually show their humanity too, they get left, they get beat, they get mistreated just like the black women do. Like, when you're not humanized, then when shit happens and you need support and comfort, you're not going to get it. Or you're going to get a simp ass nigga that feels that he's less than and has to be subservient to you and shit. And then you're going to become resentful. So, but you never get like an actual partner. And so I just was like, so you chose, so since this is you, Stack is you. You because you said it was you. You chose the character that chooses the darkness and to be with the white woman and the vampires that are siphoning away people's like talents and colonizing their talents and shit like that, and their culture and their history and shit like that. And I was just like, this is a lot. Like when they both attacked Annie, I just felt traumatized. I left that movie theater traumatized. And then I saw that other black girl die. I know she played the pedophile, but like literally they wrote her that way. So it's like the parameters that she was given, she did the best that she could do with it. It just felt gross. I felt gross inside. I mean, I enjoyed the vampires and the storyline and all the other shit until they killed Annie. Everything else, I was just like, well, this is how niggas are. So, I really went in there thinking it was going to be like, what we should have got with Vampire in Brooklyn and Angela Bassett being a vampire the whole movie. I really thought that was what was going to happen here. Like, at some point during the movie, I was like, maybe she's gonna be Annie the vampire huntress and shit, and just leave these niggas and just go off into the ether and just survive. And no, you need to die, bitch. We got what we wanted from you. Now you're dead. I then I just started telling myself, do they want to kill us? Do they want to see us dead? Like, why can't you just love your white women and stay over there? Like, why you got to see us dead too? Because, you know, the oppressor hates themselves and cannot stand to see anything that is a reminder of their self-hatred happy. And and I don't know if it's like subconscious or conscious, but you know, I always say if it happens more than once, it's on purpose, and you have to sit through a long time of production and writing and filming for this to not be on purpose. And I just, is it that insidious? Like, was y'all not paying attention? Like, I give it a 5 out of 10 just because the cinematography and the color grading and the vampires, and we learned some stuff about other cultures that was interesting, and about the Jim Crow South, and that was interesting. And but as soon as the dark-skinned black women were slaughtered, I was just like, what is this? I was even gonna hold out. I was trying my best to hold out and give it to him, and then the after credits, and then this white bitch walked out in her little hoop earrings and little ponytail and her little, you know, dressing like she black, and I was just like, oh God, I hate it. I hated it so fucking much. I do. No, because I always told you, like, I want to marry a black man. I want to have black children. I would hope that they have black children and have a black lineage, because I would turn in my motherfucking grave to be with some white man, and then our children are mixed, and then they have kids of white people, and then all of a sudden my whole lineage is white people, because that's what that is. I don't know. And then you got these motherfuckers out here like they great grandfather was black or some shit, saying nigga and shit, and I'm surprised they didn't let her say nigga in the movie, girl. No, she just went as far as to call Sammy boy, and I was just like, girl, that you might as well have said nigga, because that's what that meant, nigga, back then too. Okay, why not let her say nigga? Why not? On top of everything else, calling somebody a nigger, I just would have been like, I mean, it makes sense. Why wouldn't you cape? Why wouldn't you cape for this white woman to let her say nigger? No, because black women have been through too much. You know, like, I see black women every week that ask me, when is love gonna come for them? They hurting, they lonely. Everything else is going pretty well in their lives. They got the job, they got the family, they got the friends, and this one piece is missing because nobody sees them. They don't see them because in order to see somebody, you got to see their light and their darkness and love them anyways. And a lot of black men are not capable of doing that. That's why Annie didn't have any other personality outside of being stoic, a little bit upset, or happy. You know, and I didn't like it. Pearline didn't have any personality outside of being sexual. And it was interesting when they introduced Pearline and they had the Jezebel and the tragic mulatto pass by each other. And I was just like, because they're both sexualized beings. And I just was like, oh, that's so fucking gross. And so I just, I don't know. The colors and the dresses, pretty gowns, lovely dresses, magical color grading and cinematography. That man, Ryan Coogler, did a great job. And I really feel like he didn't have input on the relationship part, the romantic counterparts to this nigga. I feel like that was all, because you wouldn't have done Shuri so well. You wouldn't have. And I realized that a good majority of these motherfuckers hate black women. You know why I realized that? Because after Black Panther 2 came out, even up to this day, niggas are still like, who's gonna be the next Black Panther? Who's gonna be the next Black Panther? This is my diagram of the niggas that I think should be the next Black Panther. And I'm just like, we had a next Black Panther. You just don't think black women are people, and you hated seeing Shuri's pain. You hated seeing Shuri's pain outside of the context of a man harming her or doing something to her or her being enslaved. They cannot comprehend that we grieve and we get depressed and we hurt and we, my mom had depression and shit, and she would like sleep and shit all the time and stuff, because what else you supposed to do? Like no one sees you. And so you have to patch your own wounds until eventually you just crash out. Like, that's why you see black women scratching up niggas' cars. That's why you see black women. And then when we go off and we get mad or we start yelling, we're just being emotional. I mean, men in general call women emotional, but like, when I'm talking about us as black people, when niggas do it, it's just emotional. Like nigga, like I literally had to watch my sad movie that I watch when I need to get shit off my chest after watching this, The Joy Luck Club. And I realized why I love that movie, because the way they show the depth of pain that women can feel in that fucking movie. Like you had the daughter. You ought to watch that movie. You had the daughter who basically married this man. And like the man married her, his white man married her because he liked her personality. He liked who she was as an individual and shit. He even cussed his mama out for saying shit to her because she was Asian and he comes from a rich family. And they talking about, well, it's just not done. And he heard his mom talking to her like that. He cussed her the fuck out and was like, bitch, fuck you. I love her. And the nigga ends up cheating on her and divorcing her because she basically decides that her love isn't good enough and she has to placate and shove her emotions down and placate this man so he'll stay with her. He's never giving her any inkling. Before she started doing that, he never gave her any inkling that he wanted her to be this Susie Homemaker bitch with no emotions, like a robot, like a Stepford wife and shit. She decided that that's what he wanted because she didn't like her fucking self. And then like her mom comes to her and tells her the story about how she shoved her emotions down for a man, and or how her own mother, her mom comes to her and tells her how she watched her own mother be used and abused by niggas, and how her mother shoved her emotions down and just took it and then ended up killing herself. And how she swore that she would never be that way. And she raised her daughter to be free in the world, but her daughter ended up being that way. Like it was passed down like intergenerational trauma or some shit, even though the mom didn't even raise her like that. Epigenetics and shit like that. And so, like, she didn't raise her to cower like that. The Asians got this thing where you got to be, holding your just like black folks, holding your emotions, be seen and not heard, and cater to niggas and shit like that. They got the same shit over there. It just looks a little bit different. And I was just like, look at these women and their emotions and how they just going through shit and how they crying. Like one of the daughters got one of the women, one of the mothers in the movie, in the Joy Luck Club, like she ended up with this abusive nigga back in the day, and this nigga was basically molested her, picked her up when she was 16, married her, and love bombed her and shit like that, and then had a baby with her, and then left her on the side and was just fucking random bitches and beating her and shit, to the point where she was going into these catatonic depressive episodes where she was dissociating and staring off into space and shit. And one day she was bathing her son in a little tub and she dissociated, and I'm still not sure how much was dissociation and how much was on purpose, because when she was narrating it, she said she wanted to take the only thing that belonged to him, but when you see her do it, it didn't look like it was on purpose. It looked like she dissociated and wasn't paying attention, and the baby drowned. So I don't know. I think she blames herself, but in reality, like she was like her nervous system couldn't take all of that shit. And so as the mom was getting older, like and she went to America and she had her daughter, like she would have these catatonic episodes where she would just be staring off into space and be depressed and tears would fall down her eyes and nobody could reach her. Her daughter would be like, mommy, mommy, mommy. And she would just be sitting there staring off into space because nobody could reach her and shit. Because of that situation that happened when she married that nigga at 16 and was molested and had a baby and killed her baby and was beaten and all this other stuff. And you mean to sit up here and tell me that this woman lost her fucking child, had the child buried outside her house, and then lost her nigga because her nigga was too weak to express his emotions and be vulnerable and face himself and just cry and shit sometimes and grieve properly, and they could have grieved together, just shows up on her doorstep after 7 years asking for some shit. And she's perfectly fine with that, like, and then you slaughter her. You fucking slaughter her. I don't care. She was slaughtered. Like, now, when you watch stuff like the Joy Luck Club and you see the depths of emotion, when you watch stuff like Black Panther 2 and you see the depths of emotions that women have, especially black women, and how like they hate to see it, they hate to see our pain, they hate it. It was not enough room in this movie for black women pain. It was only enough room in this movie for black male pain. This movie was for black men and maybe some white men that get to pretend to be Michael B. Jordan and end up with this Haley Steinfeld bitch at the end of the movie. They get to play blackface for a little bit. That's why white people like it. Because you get to end up with Haley Steinfeld at the end of the movie. So, you know, the black women didn't matter in this movie. Like, if it was an all-black cast, white people wouldn't watch that shit. That's why they put her in there. But it would have been fine. I would have been fine with all of it if they hadn't slaughtered them black women. If them black women weren't martyred for these niggas, I would have been perfectly... At least one of them had lived. Preferably Annie. I would have been perfectly fucking fine with it. So, you know, 5 out of 10, you know, Ryan Coogler did his thing. Like, go watch this. Like, I'm excited to see the next shit he do. Magic. Like, you know, if you gonna use Michael B. Jordan, like, I feel like I'm trying to be kind. I don't know this nigga, so I'm not gonna assume, even though there have been behavioral patterns that point in a certain direction. You know, you're not beating the allegations, love, and that's okay. That's okay. Who decided to kill the dark-skinned black women though off? Like, I feel like who made that decision? Because you could have kept them on. That could have been for us. That's for the women. That's for the dark-skinned black women. You can be over there at the end of the movie with your white bitch. They could have lived, girl. I just feel like we gonna have this nigga, like, maybe he shouldn't have, until he, you know, whatever he needs to do to work through whatever that subconscious, whatever that is, maybe, just maybe, he shouldn't have any input on the romantic interest in the movie. You know, like, maybe he should just input on the vampires. Like, you know, the nigga like anime and shit like that. Like, he could have input on the vampires, on the cinematographies. You know, he and his director bag, everything, the angle of the camera and shit like that. He could have inputted on those things. Why you got this nigga inputting on the romantic interest? Because I really feel like it wasn't Ryan Coogler. No, you don't give the depth of emotion that you give to Shuri and then step out and be like, oh no, these hoes though, they don't feel things. And one's a pedophile. They don't feel stuff. But this white woman, though, she feel all the things. She can be mad and she can storm around and be upset and talk about all this stuff that bothers her about these niggas and shit and and then end up with one of them at the end. You know, he don't like her. He just don't want to be by himself. And I just was like, you could have changed you could have changed someone else so that you wouldn't have to be by yourself. But no, he don't like her. No, you don't be calling the people that you love bitches and I'm gonna get these field bitches to beat your ass. And girl, I just want to know, what part was your personality? Like, I don't care if, like, I look like a motherfucker. Like, I'm not claiming nothing and nobody that does some fuck shit. Like, no, I don't. You tell me I look like that motherfucker immediately. Like, no, I don't. I don't know what you're talking about. No, I don't. But you got the same, like you funny like that. No, I'm not. Like, you talking about, now this nigga over here raping bitches. you never gonna attach me to some bullshit. Like, I would never attach myself to some bullshit, motherfucker. So why would you attach yourself? You know, that ain't got shit to do with me. That's a personal situation that's over there. And you stay over there with that. You keep that over there and you work through that. God bless it. God bless you. You know, like, I wish a nigga would come back after 7 years on my doorstep. I would not open the door. And if they did not leave, I would call the police. That's the depth of the hurt that you caused me, to where I am completely off of you. Like, it's gone. There's nothing here for you. There's nothing left for you. You left me here with a dead baby in my front yard that I had to work and work through my emotions to get through. If she couldn't have cooked, this nigga wouldn't have showed up at her door. I promise you. Bet, bitch. If they didn't write in that she could cook. You know, it pissed me off too. You got flowers for the grave. You didn't get flowers for her. You let her service you and shit and give you vagina and shit. And then she cooked for you. And then you and your brother slaughtered her. You slaughtered her like you was punishing black women. No, but she said she wanted to die. And okay, and he could have killed his brother too, and he didn't. He made a choice, right? No, she was written that way on purpose. Like, black women aren't like that, and like healed black women aren't like that. And I just, what is wrong with the mental health that we write black women like this? What are we doing? What is it? You let me know, cause it's not normal. It's not normal. That's not normal. They want us dead, y'all. That's why I be telling people, love your fucking self. Please, God, black women. Like, when I see a black woman down and, you know, I'm in the vicinity and, you know, I'll go up to a black woman that looks like there's something going on and I'll just be like, are you okay, girl? Like, I've done that before. Like, I'll give you a hug. I'll sit with you and just be like, girl, you okay? What's going on? You know, like, cause I know nobody else is probably gonna walk up to her and ask her if she's okay. A black woman crashing out in the middle of the store cussing motherfuckers out, I just be like, girl, it's okay. It's okay. Or if she's too aggressive or violent, I might not walk up to her, but I'll understand that she going through something. I'm not gonna be like, look at this black bitch in here having an attitude with. No, I'll be like, in my mind, I'm like, I was driving down in Long Beach one day and saw this black woman running around the street fucking naked, bitch. I didn't laugh at her. I was just like, oh my gosh, what is she going through right now? Is she in the street jumping in front of cars butt fucking naked? Like, what's going on? Like, the fuck is going on? Like, but I've walked up to black women just because I know no one else would and asked them if they okay, because no one else does. No one else asks us if we're okay. He didn't ask her one time. Like I don't even think he asked her. Maybe he did, but even like, are you okay? How you been? Who's been helping you? Who's been taking care of you? How have you been dealing with stuff? Like, just because she said there's no use complaining about misery doesn't mean that you don't push harder to make her feel seen. Like, you don't see this girl. You don't see this woman. You don't. And she played that part to a T, to step out, try her best to show that woman had more personality than being a strong black woman. All the way up until the point of feeling sad, or feeling upset, or feeling hurt. She still showed that I can be happy, I can be caring, I can be joyous. I'm not just here to mule for you, nigga. Anytime she wanted to give to somebody else, though, it was an attitude problem. Like, you can't, hated it. And then the other girl that's playing the Jezebel part, I was just like, girl, you did the best you could with the parameters you had. They set you up to look like a pedophile. I'm sorry, girl. Like, that's all. Tell me one other piece that you know about these two women's background. Except for one's a hoodoo woman who lost her baby and was sitting pining for a nigga for 7 years. So it's still wrapped up around a nigga. The other one's married and is a pedophile wrapped up around niggas and shit. There's nothing else. Mary had a mom and she was grieving her mom dying and she was sad and you could see it. Them niggas don't care about none of y'all. They don't care about none of y'all. And I was just like, and my thing too was like, okay, you could be the trifling ass niggas. You can be the trifling ass niggas, okay? And if everyone was kind of equal, like no one really had, like all the women didn't have no like depth to them, like it would have been like whatever, it would have been fine. But no, you gave a white woman depth, and then you killed off the black woman. I didn't like it. I felt traumatized. I was just like, they hate the fucking shit out of us, and they don't even. If this is subconscious, they hate us and they don't even know it. Like they hate us and they don't even fucking know, or they're afraid of us. But whatever emotion it has is not something to be applied to somebody that you see as a human being. Like it's not something that you would apply to anybody that you would see as a human fucking being with a variation of feelings and emotions. It's something you would apply to a dog, a robot, something that you feel like you need to control. And you can't control the magical black woman, so she need to die. You can't control her, so she obviously needs to die. And so, I just want you deserve better. And she showed us what happens when you choose whiteness in Lovecraft Country. You just surround a bunch of sociopaths and narcissists that are literally just keeping you there. Like if they choose to have you in their circle, be on the lookout. Just be observant, because a lot of times white folks and even others, they have you in their circle so that they can use you as a scapegoat if some shit happens eventually, and you don't even know it. You don't even. They'll act normal and be regular and nice, just like Remick and his. We just want you to be free. They not treating you like human beings. You ain't treating them like human beings either, nigga. You want to siphon off their talents and shit and take their songs and their nigga. Fuck you. No. Just be observant. It's not all of them, but it's a good portion because it's in their culture. Because epigenetics, power and control, since Rome tried to take over Europe, then the Crusades, then colonization, then slavery, then segregation, then Jim Crow, all of that creates trauma within a group of people. And that's you going to picnics, taking your kids, letting them watch you kill people and letting them watch you. There are people still alive that went to those picnics as children that are out here hurting people and shit and teaching the next generation to hurt people and shit like that. Like that's in your culture and you're not clocking it. And because you're not clocking it, you're not a safe culture to be around in mass like that, because the ones that aren't clocking their issues are the most dangerous ones, because they'll get around you. You'll let your guard down. You'll think they're the greatest people. Then surprise, all of a sudden you're in jail. All of a sudden, like that one woman, I always bring that shit up all the time, that went on that sleepover with them white people and she ended up dead at the bottom of the balcony the next day. Don't nobody know what happened, and no one's ever been arrested for that. Like that boy that was rolled up in that mat at that school. No one ever was arrested for that. Like, that's why you got to be on your P's and Q's, and you got to be observant when you see red flags. You ain't got to look for red flags. Red flags will just make themselves known. You just got to not be in denial when they pop up. And so you choose whiteness and you see it as freedom until eventually, just like One Me learned in One Lovecraft Country, that this is a group of snakes that will eat you if you think even slightly different from the rest of if you look even slightly different, if you act even slightly. This is a cult. And so she showed us, and then in this they decided to choose the white folks. Is that what the sinners is? Is that the moral of the movie? Is that, these motherfuckers is gonna choose their shadow side and glorify whiteness because they're scared of black women? Oh, niggas gonna be like, what is she? No, I had receipts. I had fucking receipts that you can easily look up, because I'm not gonna put clips on here of some of this shit, because if you put clips on this motherfucker with sound, then they demonetize your shit. And no, you can look this shit up. But like, that's the plot I saw. Soon as that nigga said, this is me. Okay, love, this is you. I don't know what. I will not go into the darkness. I will not go into a situation where I'm not fully seen. I have depression. When I get depressed, I sleep a lot. I don't eat when I get depressed. One year after I broke up with my first boyfriend, or he broke up with me, like, I was so depressed. I lost so much fucking weight just because I wasn't eating. And it's not that I become like anorexic or develop an eating disorder. Like, my ulcers in my stomach get so bad. I don't think I have them anymore, because I've been living a magical life with as much peace as possible, just for these reasons. My ulcers in my stomach hurt so much that I can't eat. It hurts to eat. And so I remember I lost hella weight, nigga. Like, and there was nobody there to comfort me or take care of me. I would go to school, I would come home, I would cry myself to sleep. Like, I was sick on sick on sick. And so knowing those things about myself when I am overwhelmed, upset, and never being seen when I'm sad or upset or sick, except for when I was a kid with my mom. Like, literally, that's the example that I have, the best example that I have of being cherished and taken care of. So it's happened in my life. It's never happened from a black man, but it's or a man in general, but it's happened in my life to where I know what it feels like to be cherished. Like, my mom would, like, she would just be like, I remember having stomach flus and being laid out on the floor and throwing up on the floor, and like, she wouldn't even try to get me up. She would just bring a towel and sit there with me and rub my back, and like, shit like that. Like I remember, like, this hasn't happened in years, but this is my most favorite thing, is getting a scalp rub. And I remember when I was a kid, my mom used to do my hair and she would rub my scalp, and it would be the best feeling ever. And no one's ever done that for me in any relationship that I've ever had. And so the last time that's ever happened was when my mom did it. Like, I have examples in my life of being cherished and being loved that I was not putting in the forefront as the most important thing in my life when I was in my 20s and maybe the first year or so of my early 30s. Now, oh hell no. Anytime, like, I think about what I want in a man in a relationship, reciprocity. Because like I said, black women have this well of love, this full capacity to take care of you and you know how I know they know? Because that's how they made Annie's character. They over here talking about, like, I didn't even know that was his, such and such. I thought she was his mom, and da-da-da-da-da. And niggas are like, oh, that's because we're socialized to mammy black women. No, that's how they wrote her. That's how they wrote her. She didn't have any other emotions. He didn't comfort. This nigga posted on his page these photos from the set with Annie and him. And she's standing over him like she's protecting him. And he's curled up in this little chair with his little pew-pew. It's just like, what's going on? Who takes care of Annie? I need to know if someone takes care of her. Does someone give her a hug sometimes? Like, has someone made her food? Has made her soup? Soup is good. Like pozole, I love pozole when like pozole. I like hot and sour soup. I like a good stew with big chunks of meat in it. That's my comfort food when I feel like overwhelmed and stuff. Does Annie need some stew? Like, what does she need? I want to bring her something, like some flowers, because this nigga didn't bring her flowers. Some flowers. What does she need? Because I just felt the weight of the muling on my own shoulders, and I couldn't stand it. Because there was nobody there to protect her. This nigga, thing one and thing two, killed this bitch. I can't. What do you need, Annie? What do you need? Because yes, we're goddesses, but goddesses need a hug sometimes too and shit, nigga. Like, you need a hug. Do you need a blanket? Do you need like a stuffed like that? Like, I got a lot of stuffed animals and stuff. I can give you a teddy bear to hold on to. Like, you know, do you need like a emotional support animal? Like, because it looks like you put in a lot of work in this movie. To take care of everybody else and to premonition for everybody else. Who's premonitioning for you, girl? What do you need, love? Let me know and I will try my best to make sure you get it, because you was doing too much work for them to murder you like that. They murdered you. No, I don't care if she asked for it. They wrote her like that. That was a choice. They didn't have to choose that. And if you're going to strong black woman her throughout the whole movie, then you should have let her survive and she could have been Annie, the vampire warrior huntress. The warrior vampire huntress something, bitch. I don't know, nigga. Like, the pretty gowns. Because I'm not going to not give the flowers where they belong, you know. At least somebody can get the flowers. Annie gets all the flowers, bitch. She gets all of the fucking one me gets all the fucking flowers because she worked her ass off for these motherfuckers in this movie. She muled and she pulled that fucking cart for these niggas who didn't give a fuck about her own emotional stability. And don't be like, she said this, she said that. They wrote her that motherfucking way. I was upset on Wednesday after I saw this movie. I was upset. I was bothered. And I was going to do it. I was going to record after I saw the movie. I was going to do the video and everything. And I was like, I'm too upset. I'm too emotional. And I'm going to be mean. Because there was a lot of fuck niggas. And niggas ain't shit. And they want to kill us. It was too much. And I'm trying to be nice and kind and understanding that, black men have trauma too, and they're not recognizing how they're treating us and how they're not seeing us. And so, maybe that's this situation, even though one of them niggas has a pattern of this behavior. No, because Ryan Coogler's married to a black woman and they about to have a baby, and he wrote Shuri just like amazingly. He directed Shuri amazingly, and the actress that played Shuri acted her fucking ass off. I don't care what you're talking about. All the stages of grief, girl. You went through all the stages, and at the end was acceptance, girl. Like, did they have this script off in brackets for each stage of grief, and you just poured yourself into each stage? Like, how did it work? How did you act that fucking shit out? Because that's a lot. What did you have to tap into to go through all that grief while still fighting crime and being the Black Panther and shit? Like, I need to know, because it was a magical experience to watch, and these niggas were made to feel so uncomfortable by the fact that black women feel pain outside of slavery and outside of being abused by a nigga. But yeah, I was upset. And so I said, I'm going to wait till my usual day, Sunday night. Let some things marinate. That's when I had the idea to look up, the tragic mulatto and, the Jezebel and the strong black woman. And I was, able to look those things up. And I was like, I need some evidence. I can't just be saying shit and being mad and being like, fuck niggas. This needs to make sense. It needs to be factual. There needs to be some science in it. There needs to be some receipts, some patterns. So we're not sitting up here because this is going against everything everybody else has been saying about how they love this movie. And it was a masterpiece. And it was so amazing and so great. And you got white men in there laughing every time this nigga says something fucked up about a black woman, field bitches and fuck your wife and shit like that. And we supposed to just sit up here and sit through this theater experience with a theater full of white folks laughing at shit that they shouldn't be laughing at. and being able to blackface their way all the way to the end of a movie and pretend that they got Hailey Steinfeld. They got with her. Yes, they did. He chose whiteness every single time, and you're subliminally telling like black men that it's okay to choose whiteness. It's okay to choose whiteness. Maybe there'll be a sequel. Well, they'll rectify a lot of these things, but I feel like this next sequel is going to be a full swirl. Like, I just feel like we pandered in order to cover up a swirl. That's what it felt like. It pandered. Well, you could have just swirled all the way through and kept them black women alive. That's all you needed to do. Kept one of them alive, preferably Annie, because the other one, you just tarnished her reputation. Like, she gonna live after this and then marry a 16-year-old, run off with a 16-year-old. Oh, it was so gross. It was so gross. It was like this child. It felt like I was watching child pornography. I was just like, what's going on? He was in the car like a little baby asking his cousins questions about stuff like a fucking child. Like he doesn't know nothing. And you got him in here with this, 28-year-old? I'm tired. It's okay. And it's not her fault. She acted her part. She did a good job. It's the parameters that these niggas set up for black women that it wasn't enough for me. It wasn't enough. They deserve better. Them black women in that movie deserve better. And it really illustrates subconsciously. I'm just going to say subconsciously because I don't know these motherfuckers. These are strangers. And I don't want to put things on strangers that, that is, I don't know if it's there or not. I just know that there is a pattern of behavior in at least one of these niggas that say, subconsciously there's something there that somebody isn't seeing. And maybe it needs to be clocked before you do your next movie with a black woman. Or just don't do your next movie with a black woman at all. But I think he about to do the Thomas Crown Affair with this young black girl, and it's fine. It's maybe it's just me. I just don't like these big ass age gaps and shit. Like cause when I think about dating somebody younger, like substantially younger, like in their early 30s or late 20s or their early 20s, their mid 20s. No, see, we keep going. I remind myself of who I was at that age and how I viewed the world and the things that I didn't know yet, and the stuff that I hadn't experienced yet. And you put yourself in the place of being this young person's teacher in some areas, and that shit is gross. Like, no, like, not like, oh, we're teaching each other in a partnership and learning each other. Like, no, like, I got to tell you about how to rent a car. Oh God. Oh, you just turned 21. I gotta tell you. And that shit is so gross to me. So I just, I don't know if I'm gonna partake of so, it's none of my business. It's none of my business. It's just shocking to see the patterns still patterning. And then you the representative of niggas. Like, so niggas like will watch this and feel represented in their darkness and treating black women like shit subconsciously, And so I don't know. Maybe I feel like One Me's acting maybe stood out enough to individualize her, even though they like killed her, they slaughtered her. So maybe that the greatness of being a black woman, but is it standing out because, seeing her as a strong black woman? Or I feel like the way that she's been dressing and her makeup and everything like that, and as she's been on tour, has really highlighted the femininity in her and things like that. So really showing people that, no, I'm not this strong black bitch like that. Like, I'm a feminine black woman that also deserves love and care and tenderness and things. And like, niggas is like, oh, he was so tender. Where was he tender to her? She was kissing on him, and then he flipped her over and stuck his dick in her. Like, where was where was the foreplay for her? He didn't eat her earlobe. Even the white bitch, like she was kissing on him when they was in that little room, and she was eating on his earlobe and shit. Like, he wasn't touching on her, or eating on her ear. And maybe this was just, the actresses didn't want to be touched on like that, and that's a vibe. If that was the only thing, then I would just be like, maybe the actresses didn't want to be touched on like that. And that's, you can tell people what you want and what you don't want, and you should be able to and shit. But then when the visual of it, when you add it to the rest, it's just like, we ain't gonna show any type of tenderness really. To you get the head on the bosom, she just, where do you lie your head at, Annie? Where are you lying your head at? Who hugs you, Annie? Like but whatever. Lovely gowns, beautiful dresses. That's my review. I don't know, niggas. I don't know. Y'all probably gonna be mad about this, and don't come on here with all this, because niggas was talking about, oh, it's demonic and da da da. The only thing I had to say about the spirits that they had in that movie was that you fucking with ancient African spirits that are not just for black men; they're for black people, black non-binaries, black women, black men, and then you use this movie as a conduit to sacrifice black women, while calling on the names of the ancestors and the African gods. I hope you aren't haunted. I hope you don't get haunted. That's all I gotta say about that, because I believe in all the spiritualities and all the things, and I feel like, you don't fuck with people's spiritualities and things, especially when you using the things to, sacrifice black women, and then you calling on the spirits. So don't come on here talking about it's demonic and shit, because that's not what I'm on. That's not the time I'm on. I'm not on that time. The only thing I gotta say about it is, you shouldn't be calling spirits that are for everybody that's black when you killing off the most powerful piece of the blackness, which is black femininity and womanhood and shit. That's all. God bless you. I hope you don't get haunted. Because the spirits see through the bullshit. They're not gonna be tricked. They're not gonna be tricked. Oh God. I'm sure no one's gonna watch this like that. People aren't gonna watch this. Oh. Who the fuck is, if people watch this and cuss me out, I'm just gonna just take the positive and be like, it's more views. And I might make a little bit of money. No one's gonna watch this like that. Oh God. No, because it's like, I had misgivings when everybody was like rooting, like was excited about the movie, because like, the world is too evil for everybody to like one thing. That's too many groups of people mixed in that are fucked up and evil liking something. What is this fucked up evil person like about this? No way. Let me. I need to understand why the fucked up evil group of people like this, so that gives me misgivings. That's why, like, when everybody likes something and is doing the same thing and it's trending, like, I want to be off of it immediately. Like, maybe that's the Aries in me. Like, I don't like it. Like, I just and watching the movie and being like, oh shit. Do they like it because they fucked? Like, do they like it because they fucked up the black women? Girl, oh. Is they subconsciously? Is that why? That hurts my feelings. It hurt my feelings. The movie hurt my feelings. The movie literally made me feel like these niggas want us dead, and they don't even realize that they want us dead. They were too magical. Like, oh. And if you choose to go down the path of black womanness, you're gonna die too. Like, girl, well, you gotta kill the light so you can choose the darkness and shit. Now, is that the sinner's part? Like, Let me get the fuck off of here. Oh god, I'm gonna edit this and post it and hope, you know, I don't hope for nothing. I don't hope for nothing at this point that I can't do for myself, because that's, when I was watching the movie and I was watching Annie, all I could think was, who's gonna catch her? Who's gonna catch her when she falls apart? Who's gonna catch her? No one caught her. She's dead. And they wrote her like she wanted to die. She mewed and she mewed and she mewed, and then she was slaughtered. And they wrote her like that. They wrote her like that. So she carried that fucking part though. She put personality and character into that part, even though the parameters was so limited. She put her foot in that motherfucking part. And that's the only part of the movie that I liked was Annie. And that scene with the juke joint, that was nice. And the scene with the Irish stepping, that was fun. That's the only parts that I liked. I'm gonna be honest. And I liked Annie all up until she died. After she died, I was just like, what the fuck is this? Oh, she died so gruesomely too. Like, one of them attacked her, trying to change her into evil. Like, oh, we're going to try to change the light that we see in these black women into evil so that they can be evil with us. And then they were like, oh no, we're going to kill her. No, she needs to die. She's too powerful. And it's just, no, but she said, no, they wrote it that way. They wrote, that's a choice. It's a choice. It's a choice. Yep. So that's my review for Sinners. I don't know. Next, I'll probably do The People Under the Stairs, because I keep saying I want to do that movie. I don't know. Something in me wants to watch that movie. That's a good movie. The little white girl and stuff, and them people, the little white boy that was under them stairs and shit with them people. And I'm just like, how are they? But then, watching true crime and shit has taught me, like, it's really hard to kill a human body. So that's how them people under the stairs was living under there for that long, all pale and sightless and creepy and smelly and shit. Them white people were the devil. They were evil. And that little black boy, he in there trying to get some gold and shit and stuff. Cause them white people trying to take his home and shit. Evil ass. Just evil. And then his sister, I think his sister came and tried to get him and shit. I'm gonna watch that movie again. That's a good movie. Yep. That's all I got for you. I don't know what else to say. Like I said, I tried to be nice. I don't know these people, so I'm just like, I'm going off of patterns of behaviors and what is coming out these motherfuckers' mouths. And from what I'm hearing, at least from one of these motherfuckers, there is a pattern of behavior that makes it obvious as to, like, why things happen the way they happen for the black women in this movie. Damn, she was slaughtered. Fuck. She had to be slaughtered like that, gushing blood out of her throat, and then you stab her in her chest, and it was so visceral because she got a big chest, so it was just made it even. She was a magical character and a magical woman. Could have done so much with that character. She could have been the next Blade and shit. Who knows? You gonna keep her powerful and shit. She could have been the next Blade and shit. Who knows? I just hated it. I don't. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this review. If you don't enjoy this review and you got some shit to talk, just go to something else. I don't know what to tell you. That's how I feel. You don't have to feel this way. That's how I feel. That's what I saw. That's what made me feel traumatized and uncomfortable. If you didn't feel that way, that's okay. You can enjoy the things and not feel that way, but just make sure that no one ever mules you, and that, you get tenderness and love out of everybody that you invite into your personal life, and that you get respect out of everybody that you have outside of your personal life. Just make sure you have those things, and that you show, first and foremost, that you show yourself tenderness and love and care and comfort. Because if you don't show it to yourself, you're not going to know what it looks like when someone comes. That's why I like Abbott Elementary, because bar for bar, Gregory meets Janine every single time. in the district episode when she had her little attitude because she didn't know what he said on the phone and stuff, and instead of ignoring her and thinking she had an attitude, so I'm just going, she's getting emotional, he clocked it and then pulled her to the side and asked her what was wrong. And then when he's going through stuff, she shows up for him. Reciprocity. Bar for bar, that nigga meets her every fucking time when she's going through something or she's emotional, and she meets him. And I just don't understand why we can't have other niggas that make media with black women see us as people enough to meet us bar for bar when we're going through stuff, or logically have us go through stuff when, like, logically have us express emotions when we go through stuff. Like, I love Abbott Elementary. But he meets her every single time. That's why it was so weird for me the first episode of season 4 when like she didn't want to tell the school. I was waiting for him to say he didn't want to tell either. I don't want nobody to know, like because that's what niggas do. They want to keep you secret. And he was just like, no, like, I'm here, we're here together, we just tell the school and blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, look at them look, he's communicating. What is this? This is why, like, when I heard that the dude that plays Gregory has said that they were just thinking about keeping him and Janine friends, I was just like, no, nigga, like, talking about we ain't really seen like a black man and a black woman be friends and shit. And I was just like, nigga, what is you talking about? When have we seen a black man and a black woman love each other and shit, like, on the television in this bar for bar meeting each other partnership type way? This is why I said that, because look 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 what our options are when, like, this bitch lost a baby and there's a dead body outside her house every fucking day. And you supposed to expect me to believe that she's just, fine with this nigga showing back up in her life after 7 years, and she only had a little bit of attitude, but she just needed to be talked back into giving up the food in the vagina, sweet talked back into that, that's and then she gets slaughtered because she's too magical. We don't know how to control that, so you and my brother can die. Like, he chose the light, so he has to die. If you choose the light, you're gonna die. If you choose black, bitches, you're gonna... Girl, oh God, I didn't like it. I hated it. Oh, fuck. And so, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna get off of this. This is... I hope you enjoyed, and later days.